having a car, are you willing to stop being a rampant consumer person? So it's kind of like that's the trade-off. You have to trade off your sovereignty in order supposedly to protect yourself from this impending.
Sovereignty for me feels like it's a national thing which is shared between a lot of people rather than, I don't know, maybe I'm interpreting wrong, like not having a right to maybe drive a car or to, you know what I mean? That's more civil rights, more personal rather than.
It's just personal sovereignty in the sense of like, because you can have a sovereignty as a nation in terms of do you control your own future, but if you don't have personal sovereignty, then you can't make any decisions in your life.
Could liberty be another way of having that personal liberty?
Semantics, yeah, because you can use either kind of thing, yeah.
I think it's definitely some inhabitability.
But they're interesting because they're different sides of the coin, because that, in easy for me to say, uninhabitability is kind of losing sovereignty as a result of climate change, whereas this is kind of saying losing sovereignty as a result of the need to respond to climate change. So they're kind of different in that sense.
Is it possible to respond to climate change and still have some kind of sovereignty or habitability?
Not if the powers that be have it their way, because that, in my opinion at least, that's the whole reason for.
If they don't have it their way, it's still possible to survive climate change.
How can it be? Because we'd have to make such a big sacrifice, and if it's as dangerous as they say it is, if we've got 9 years or 10 years, that surely is imperative to massively change the way we live.
I think we can, myself. So yeah,
but I'm just saying that that's the same as states, isn't it?
Say again.
It's going into states.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it is.
Maybe uninhabitability is the same as stakes.
Excuse me, where do you get this 9 or 10 years business from?
Oh, it's 12 years a few years ago.
Yeah.
I haven't catch
The
up.
IPCC, you Google IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, they've been saying that we've got 12, I'm like, point of no return in about 8 or 9 years' time. But the point,
But where that point from though, from where? Whereabouts in the globe is that point from?
No, the temperature rises.
Sorry?
Global warming melts the ice.
Okay, but the ice melted before, we're still there.
there were more trees then most likely, so they would absorb the heat, if that makes sense.
I have a solution. I have a solution.
What did you say before?
It's Sadiq Khan's fault.
Can I just ask, even though the ice was melting thousands of years or millions of years before, the fact that we have billions of cars on the road now, is that a better thing than it was when we didn't have billions of cars on the road?
Well, clearly we don't know what the
It is
future
because
holds.
we've managed to get, this is what the whole society's built. If we didn't have those cars, we wouldn't be sitting here right now, because there wouldn't be any supplies being brought around. We wouldn't be able to go anywhere, we wouldn't be able to fly anywhere. It's the whole, like, this energy and use of energy is how we built this civilization.
But then
It ties into environmental racism.
What about the cows?
we didn't have the
One voice. If you didn't have the enslavement of African people, that's kick-started the Industrial Revolution, that kick-started everything else, we wouldn't be in this position now.
Can I ask you something? Are you saying as Africans we were incapable of getting where we are as a community if it wasn't for white people?
Me?
Yeah.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that
It's the circumstances, it's just a matter
I'm
of
talking about
fact.
environmental racism. So,
Yeah.
so the situations that happened kick-started the whole climate change.
So the question I'm asking you, if there was no slavery, would the environment still would be better now?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
That's my point.
I don't know. I can't answer that.
That's
But
100%.
Yeah.
I agree.
every what?
That the environment would be much better without slavery.
No.
Are you saying men will never evolve?
That's a whole different thing.
Different.
Yeah, but
There's not one course of evolution.
Man's
That's
always
what
evolving. Man's always evolving.
Yeah,
But
that's
we're talking about the impact of slavery on the environment.
It's
All right. So with slavery, slave trade, with the Portuguese, the French, the Spanish, all of them, obviously Arabs as well, on the way back, using slave trade to build countries, to build the economy,
To build
the
ships,
iron age,
to build
build
ships to
ships.
carry the
That
slaves.
started more movement around the world. That started building more cities, and more cities build more pollution.
Right, see,
That's the impact.
We need to come up with
Yeah.
4. How many have we got? We've got one in agreement? Yeah. Can we decide on 4?
Can someone, is black community similar to Africanism? Could be black community.
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
I personally think they're different, but
When you say collaborations,
when I
what
say
do you-
Africanism, it's a different thing. It's something inside you.
political.
And when I think black community, it's a different for me.
How do you define black communities? Because not all the same black communities share the same experiences. So the West Indian experience is totally different from some of the African experiences. I mean, because not every African country
Experience slavery.
Yeah.
Can I just, I'm going to verify that. The other day I was having a conversation with my wife, and we're talking about women who reach menopause, and apparently more white women suffer from menopause than black women. And then we get into the whole thing about giving birth, and apparently in the olden days in the African communities, when a woman gave birth, she was, the baby was looked after, she was looked after for a month or whatever. And I said, well, in slavery time, that never happened. She went straight back onto the field. She goes, well, you have to. She goes, that's not where it started. I said, but for the Afro-Caribbean, that's where it started. So there is a difference between the black community and Africanism.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a massive difference.
Can an Afro-Caribbean and Africans have a similar experience with Africanism?
I think it's a state of mind, a state of learning, a state of understanding that can be subscribed to everybody in terms of Afro-Caribbeans and Africans. Because I've met a lot of Africans who do not. The whole concept of Africanism is mumbo jumbo for them.
So the kind of, especially the Pan-African kind of.
Yeah.
My dad's like that.
It's a kind of utopia.
I wouldn't say utopia means we all living happy, dappy, and crappy. I wouldn't. That's my interpretation of utopia.
Kumbaya.
Kumbaya, and I don't believe that. So if you want to break it down, I would rather go for Africanism opposed to black community.
Okay. Are we agreeing or disagreeing on what the first word?
I would go for black, not African. That's my
black community because
Say why. Say why.
fight the power.
Because I don't consider myself to be an African. So like when you talk about, you have the Caribbeans, you also have black Europeans, and you have black English people, and you have black British people. So like, not like I'm trying to ostracize myself, but I recognize that I don't have as much, maybe his level of understanding of the Africanism, but I would understand more of the black community. So I'd do what I know, rather than not do what I don't know.
A different culture, an accent.
Subculture of an original
Yeah,
culture.
yeah.
I feel white people could also say they're Africanist as well, which would make me feel uncomfortable unless they were able to explain exactly why they felt they were Africanist as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you do have white people who were born and raised from any generation in Africa.
Yep, they're born and raised with themselves Africans.
I agree with what you said.
Poorer than black folks,
Hey,
what'd you say, boy?
What is the agreed first word?
Sorry?
What is the agreed first
So
word?
everybody's going for black community, and we'll get Africanism off. Yeah, I like it, but I can see your point of view because.
So black community is the first word. Okay, carry on. You've got three more to go.
We jumped sovereignty and
We link
Collaboration.
with uninhabitable ability. Uninhabitability.
I was thinking that uninhabitability and stakes could kind of be merged, because uninhabitability is one of the stakes. One of the things that's at stake.
So we can get rid of stakes then.
Number two.
Maybe get rid of
one and the same, isn't it?
Yeah, to get rid of stakes. But surely you would keep stakes because that is broader and
It's
encompasses
just,
more.
yeah, it's. I was going for something
got a point?
that's descriptive. Stakes. I don't know.
I think I'm
You know,
Uninhabitability.
The inability to be habitable.
That's a long word for me, but
You fell into that one.
Pull out your short word.
because in society, especially, there are certain people who are having to forced into properties which are uninhabitable. Because when you're saying that, so through no fault of their own, and they're living in squalor. That boy that died, I think, beginning of the year through damp and mold. That's a case of, and that family had no choice but to live there. Nobody was listening to them, and a lot of families in England, regardless of colour, but are living in accommodation in squalor, places that are not indifferent animal. But I think that one's a good one. We should keep that one.
So the second word is.
So do we want to get rid of sovereignty?
Yeah.
Does everyone agree?
Sovereignty is.
Does everyone agree?
Sovereignty over what?
Over
I was just
ourselves.
looking at sovereignty
Yeah.
over.
Is it like self-determination?
Yeah. Do we surrender our rights and our freedoms and our own freedom to think and how we want to act because the government or other media or powers have told us that there's an emergency?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. The powers that be. Who are
Who
the
are they?
powers that be?
The government, business interests, the media, the people that form the establishment, the people that hold power in the country.
The people that
We
spend
hold
our
power.
council tax.
Yeah.
We hold the power because we've made
The
that
wealthy
change.
people as opposed to people that have money or some small amount of things they have.
So are
The
you
person who pays your check.
Who's there?
so are you saying that the common man has no power?
No.
You're
You're not saying that.
No.
What are you saying?
Scary.
I'm saying that are we going to surrender more of our power? We do have power, but are we going to start surrendering it to people that are in power or have more power because they've told us there's an emergency and the seas are going to crash in on us if we don't?
Okay, I'll give you an example. When COVID came along, the powers that be told us COVID was here and we all want to have an injection. Is that what you're talking about?
Not all of us.
No, I'm putting that as like
Analogy or
It's a
Just like
similar
you guys.
circumstance, yeah. It's a similar. We have been told that we are not allowed to go outside because there's a dangerous virus out there. We don't
Yeah.
know. You know, in Sweden they had no lockdowns.
Yeah, didn't work too well.
Sweden-
Yeah, they're fine. Sweden's still here. Their economy's much better.
No,
bit smaller.
injections either.
Sweden did fantastic.
It's got millions of
without
people.
lockdown.
Stick to the point. What's the second word?
I feel uninhabitability myself, but
I want sovereignty. Sovereignty always, for me, tells me we blame someone else.
that's what I think.
But it's literally the opposite.
Yeah, but you're saying that the powers that be are telling us what to do,
They are.
but also would I take responsibility for putting the powers that be up where they are?
But surely you must have.
So you're
some-
saying
Not
that we
always.
as individuals should completely destroy the whole of Western civilization?
I didn't say individuals. First of all, we have to be collective in order to destroy the sovereignty. Any single war is always happening to the middle class getting fed up with the upper class.
Yes,
Any
exactly.
civil war that's happened in history. So I'm not totally agree with sovereignty in this particular case. I'm not understanding it. I just think it's,
let's vote on this one, yeah?
do you want sovereignty to stay or go? Stay? Put your hand up.
Well, I'm not happy with the word sovereignty itself,
It's not
guys,
sovereignty. It's
but I agree with what it represents.
It's okay.
I agree with it.
It's only three of you put your hand up.
I know, I can count.
I am for it.
That's sovereignty, see?
So slightly.
Number two is what? Second
So
word.
we have black communities.
One voice, one
we have
voice.
black communities staying.
Yes.
But no sovereignty for them. But
No sovereignty. We have uninhabitability staying.
what about what do you mean by a collaboration?
Collaborations. Well, collaboration. Who's gonna explain that?
I'll just collaboration. It was just thinking about as much as living or supporting each other as a community. But we also still live in a larger community. Is there right or wrong a sort of positive conclusion to bringing other sort of communities, like I was just saying to my guy there, of where I kind of grew up in West London, a little town called Hayes, and next to us, town called Southall, which is it's the biggest Indian community outside Birmingham. And just kind of growing up there, there was very much a schism. It was very much about us and them, and I feel, it still very much is, and there's always like an air of hostility, and I felt that, us as a whole, if literally, it's just one, road that separated sort of Hayes from Southall. And I think that there was animosity, which I didn't think that it kind of helped.
Do you mean collaboration between different people of colour?
Yeah. Even though keeping your own identity, but
Yeah.
still having that
Solidarity.
harmonious.
Yeah. Do you think that
sort
could
of-
go connected with environmental racism? Because that would affect black people, Asian people, and so
I
kind
don't
of.
know. Possibly.
Yeah, that could be a way to amalgamate them.
What the other people on the team think. I like that.
Sorry, go on.
Well, I was just wondering if it also chimes with the black community.
Maybe because I think that's another
well,
thing
we
we
got that
we
one.
touched upon as well, wasn't it? If of like the black community is not a monolith either.
Yeah.
So that you know what I mean. So it's very much
Requires collaboration within
it's
there
still
as well,
here within community
Yeah.
itself.
But we always say that the black community is monolithic. It's just multifarious underneath that.
Or is it just perceived to be monolithic, but it actually isn't?
Underneath that, if you look at all of us, I can say we definitely represent different parts of the black community.
Yeah, true.
But,
Oh,
Keith, let me tell you something. I can say you represent the short black people, the bald black
That's
people,
because I'm unique. I'm unique, and you haven't really understood that.
the pygmies.
Build the pyramids.
Yeah, see?
That's why they didn't see
Okay, so yeah, we need to get hold it together. So, okay,
that's got to be a scene in it.
Let me choose what you said.
one voice. Michael.
So explain what monolithic. Is it monolithic?
Meaning
Explain, please.
when I said monolithic, we're all the same. But I said we're also multifarious, meaning we're all different underneath them. So
the
we all
umbrella.
get we're all under the umbrella. So this is us as we're here, but under that we're all different ideas, different thoughts, different things. And that's what so we're multifarious.
Yes.
So you got the black community as one, and then you got uninhabitability as two. And what's the third one?
We're going mental health and environmental race. Did we say?
Yeah, environmental racism or collaboration.
No, there's mental health. Did we all agree on that? What's the third one?
We haven't touched on that, so
We're sort of cutting off hours, but we haven't really touched. We've touched one of those, which is the sovereignty.
Sovereignty.
What's the
We've
third
touched
word?
that, and stake. Stakes.
Want to stake them?
I feel dilemma might be a better word because I'm making Michael hungry or something like that.
So you got them about
Wasn't the third one collaboration?
Collaboration was the top one, yeah.
Yeah, third one was collaboration.
Third is collaboration.
So far, we still got 6 so far.
So what's the final one then?
Are we keeping collaboration?
Now you've got one more to do. So
I
either
think
stakes
collaboration
or
was
the
going
other
to be
one.
merged with environmental racism.
Yeah, exactly. So it's got to be one or the other. Keep up.
So is environmental racism more descriptive? I mean, do we need descriptive words here? Because if we're using generic terms,
Yeah, I'm saying, because you might even forget what it was talking
what
about.
it stands for.
Yeah, it's like, remember that.
But somebody write it, and it's important for them to write
So you can
it.
forget that anything can
Yeah.
forget about environmental racism. Or collaboration is also a broad word.
Britney Spears collaborated with.
environmental racism, I think. You know, there's something more potent about it.
And it's more focused.
So environmental racism?
Yeah, put it down.
Is that it?
Yeah. One
Sounds like that.
Here we go, the show! Yay!
So what collaboration is that coming out?
KFC?
Yeah, that's coming out.
Yeah, that's coming out.
What's replacing it?
Got this one.
Where's the 4 then?
So yeah. No, that's 3.
What's the
I
4?
have the ability, I can't.
This is happening.
Oh, they moved it out yet.
Uninhabitable.
Is that gone?
So we're getting rid of mental health then, is that?
It's up to you guys. You
It's
guys
up to all of you. Whatever's important to you.
Isn't it mental health and stakes now? Is it really when
I think environmental racism kind of goes into mental health.
It's a consequence of.
They're linked, but I don't know if they're synonymous.
For sure. I mean, I can't remember who it was. Somebody yesterday mentioned about climate anxiety and mental health, and I said, I'll repeat just for the context. People who have climate anxiety or mental health issues related to climate tend to be the more least deprived people in this country.
Because they've got nothing else to worry about.
Oh no, climate.
I have to admit though, when I was in Morocco, interesting enough, I only saw one electric car. Just one electric car. There's loads of taxis and cars. But also, I was wondering whether people are actually aware of climate change.
In Morocco.
Yeah, in Marrakesh especially was in that particular
There's
area.
some research.
Because one other thing I say this because if you ever has anybody been to Marrakesh? Have you been to the outskirts where there's loads of plastics lying all over the place? That doesn't show me that somebody's interested.
I think it's common in most developing countries.
No, but that's my point.
They don't
I
care.
didn't think. No, I don't think. I wouldn't use the word they don't care.
They're trying
I don't.
They haven't been
become
brainwashed.
developed.
Yeah.
So
That's the consequence.
yeah, it's like a pyramid. You know, you can't be environmentally aware if you don't have basic.
It's like
things in
Maslow's
place.
hierarchy of needs,
Exactly.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
We should do that in terms of.
Yeah.
Defining a
Pollution,
country development
yeah,
based
and
on
caring
their
about
plastic
climate.
waste.
No, the point I was trying to say is that do the people in Marrakesh,
Wait until.
because when we think of climate change, we think for me it always applies to classism as well. For me it applies that.
100%.
So when I'm seeing people in the marketplace and I'm seeing taxi drivers, the fumes and all that kind of are they thinking recycling? Are they thinking, and as you say, Maslow's hierarchy of
Feeding their
needs?
family. No.
Are they thinking of feeding their family? So that's what I'm going back
It's
to.
also the case that a lot of Western waste goes to Africa.
No,
It's-
I get that, but in this particular case, the waste came from the people themselves. That's what I'm saying.
So Keith, you shrugged your shoulders by.
That's
What is that? What does that mean? What's going on for you? What's alive for you?
sovereignty has to come.
Why did you make that expression?
I don't understand why it's taking so long.
On that note, gentlemen,
Is that because we're not talking about you then?
8:30.
Okay.
When's the next? When's the
We don't talk about silly cars.
Outreach on Sunday in Brixton.
Outreach what?
Give out leaflets.
Flying.
Oh, right.
No.
12.
Not swimming in the
Did
case.
you just say 12?
12 for 2.
Yes, I'm at a listening place. So I can't make, no, 12, 11:45. Guys, if you can't be safe, just stay at home.
Yes, brother.
See you on Monday at the theatre.
Can I just
Brixton House.
Brixton House on Monday.
Like, okay, years ago, when I was shorter than I am now, when I first went to Jamaica, I can't remember what I was. Maybe the second time I was in my teenage years. And remember the old buses and the old cars that we didn't have anymore in England because you got a full Capri or whatever. And then I went to Jamaica and I saw where all the old cars and all the old buses went. So there's again, all this climate change stuff. People like in this country, all expensive countries, are getting all rid of the old stuff and they're just shipping it somewhere else. So the climate change is still going to flipping will be here, but just in somewhere else.
That's what I said to you, climate change is a class.
That's why it's a lot of BS.
But people are still dying though.
Well, people are dying and pushing the road. Look at where they're going. Shit happens.
Do we have our fourth word?
You put it on a short one there. He's the one
Do we have our fourth word?
What's the choice?
Environmental weight, no, sorry, mental health and mistakes.
It's got to be mental health. It's got to be mental health.
What mental health?
It's got to be mental health.
Vote on it.
Don't
Vote.
diss the mental healthers.
Vote.
Right, we're done now. Keep going.
Yeah. Black community, mental health, environmental racism, uninhabitability.
Booyaka.
What was it like doing this?
Hard.
What did you have to give up? What did you
Sovereignty.
enjoy? What did you not enjoy? What did you learn? What did you learn about yourself? What did you learn about others?
I have to make quick decisions under pressure.
I learned some words I couldn't pronounce.
I learned that our definition of words differed drastically from each person. For example, when you mentioned sovereignty, the way you explained it to me didn't resonate with me at all. And also, when we're talking about Africanism and black community, there's a massive
Disconnect.
certain words didn't resonate with me as I thought it would with the rest of the group. So it was difficult for me to sort of debate that word because I feel like I had to reteach you the word of my understanding of that particular word, if that makes sense. So for me, that was quite difficult.
I found the give and take, I found that interesting because when I was filling in my four sort of words, I had to kind of take a couple of minutes on everyone, and it kind of made sense to me until when I started sort of sharing and then toing and throwing. That it wasn't quite just as straightforward as that, because once you have to then explain yourself, then it becomes something bigger than what I thought it was. So which kind of sort of forced me, challenged me really to kind of then not necessarily second guess, but to kind of really kind of try to break it down of the consequences.
For their one name, Yusuf.
I think what came up in terms of what was written was really, really interesting. I think even if it wasn't narrowed down to the final four in each particular session or segment, I'm pretty convinced that within the play there'll be Africanism, there'll be I don't know environmental racism. Do you know what I mean? The fact that we've spoken about it for me makes me excited. I think some of the ideas, all of the ideas, are really interesting. So I feel even if they're not on the final four list, they're still in the play in some way, if that makes sense.
Still work for you.
When I heard not the argument, but the debate about Africanism and basically the experience of the West Indian community. I remember this was probably back in the 90s. I was in Brixton Market, and a lot of store owners was white, right? I remember a Jamaican man having an argument with a white businessman. I remember an African man going, "What's your problem? All you Jamaicans the same thing, angry. And I remember he turned on to him and he said that how you don't understand my pain. You came from Africa, you were free."
You said that to him?
That's what the Jamaican man said, the African man. You don't understand my pain. Yeah? You came from a place that was free. I am still struggling and I still have the scars of slavery. So you don't understand where I'm coming from. And as you guys said that, I was thinking of the whole experiment that was happening here. And I'm thinking, you know what? If everybody else here represented a different community, and let's say I was the only person or the only West Indian person or the only person that come in, let's say from a poor background, and I brought something to this table that was important to me, going through this process, that thing that matters to me, matters to my community, might have been pushed to the side.
It's marginalised.
Exactly. You know, because these have gone to four things. This is not important to you guys. So I think, and this is what's happening in the world today when it comes to the black community.
They call that, some people call that democracy, which is a complete con.
Or tyranny of the majority.
To me,
That's a better way of putting it.
to me, it's just a word change from colonialism or tyranny.
I mean, I totally hear where you're coming from, Yusuf. I think looking at the bright side, I don't know if people remember there's a film a few years ago called Precious, about a black woman. Now,
Very big.
very big, for sure. And I think
Hard to watch.
for sure, she was somebody who I think, the character represented a voice that wouldn't necessarily be heard or seen in the mainstream. But she got a platform. You know what I mean? So I suppose what I'm saying is that if you were that person in the room and you felt that way, I feel as human beings develop, maybe I'm being optimistic, we're more open-minded to hear unheard voices than we have been in the past. I mean, we're more ready and I think willing and able to hear unrepresented or kind of like
Because of
unheard
George Floyd.
voices. Say again?
Because of what, George Floyd?
It could be guilt, it could be because it could be astrology, it could be all sorts of factors on there. But I think that, I think we're evolving as human beings and we're particularly young people, they're in a world which is so multifaceted and young people's culture often influences the mainstream culture for a lot of reasons, some good, some bad, that you kind of got to be open-minded. You can't just live in your kind of echo chamber and just speak to people who believe what you believe and all that. You kind of got to be willing to kind of grow mentally. And so I think in this day and age, sure the world's fucked up in so many ways, but people are more open-minded. And so if you felt that it was worth you saying, actually, you know what, Tony, I think more likely than not in the past, Tony will be Tony this time, be like, go on, Yusuf, say what you got to say.
I think what I was going to say is that when we did the men's walk and talk, my son came on one of the walks, he's 17. We were talking about racism, and he said the only time I'm aware of racism is from the older generation. An older black generation. As far as he's concerned, in his peer group right now, at his age right now, the black kids rule kind of thing. It's the kind of, so it's interesting what Yusuf just said there is because an echo chamber, the word you used there, it's we're all coming from our own personal experiences, and That's what I'm saying. The black experience is different from any one of us here. Keith will be different to Lord will be different to me, blah 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 will be different to everybody. And we're trying to place these differences on the table and say, okay, this is what happens to all black people. And that's difficult.
Also, we've got more lived experience of being alive older on the planet than the younger people, and or perhaps some of those younger people, not all of them, have got strong lived experience of the way that they were brought up. And we talked about the film Precious and how she was brought up as a young child. So what I'm basically saying is that you're right about people who've got different lived experiences.
I mean, you're right, because I spoke, and then I'm kind of stepping on my own feet when I say this. I spoke to my brother the other day. He's a policeman. He was in the carnival. What's that stop and search thing they call? Is it sus laws? What's it called?
Section 60, I think.
What's it called? Anyway, basically, what are you saying in the carnival? 90% of the kids that were stopped were black kids. And I said, is it because there were majority of black kids? That's why you stopped them. He goes, yes, there were majority of black kids, but it hurt him to see so many black kids being stopped. But afterwards, he was going to file a complaint. But as the day progressed throughout, a lot of these black kids were carrying knives, machetes, I was telling you about it, all these kind of stuff. So I'm also aware that there's differences depending on where you grow up. And he said it saddens him because now he can complain about anything. Because almost there's a reason, you can't complain because there's a reason why these kids are stopped. One kid was carrying such a long machete.
Zombie,
That
was in the newspaper, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was the video.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one?
Yeah, that's the video with the kid running and then with the chasing them.
Yeah.
And he had it.
So all these kids have been stopped, and then it always goes back to me, is that it goes back to the thing I was trying to say earlier on, is that we have to start building with ourselves, our own communities first. We have to start recognizing that. And I think sometimes we go into this, and I'm digressing a little bit into terms of racism. I agree, everybody it exists. But for me, it's about Babylon!
It's alright. Reparation money.
Is there a better one?
Environmental racism.
So that's what I'm saying, environmental racism. Is it because, are you saying, is it because we're black, we're getting unfairly treated?
This is usual.
Is it a chicken and an egg?
The zombie,
you know what I mean?
knife thing.
Chicken or an egg? Sorry.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, my brother was
you know what? He's not even black anyway.
Yeah.
My brother's actually
Oh, come on. Just stop that. Don't go there.
Yeah.
My brother was actually there. He was actually in Labrador Grove. He was actually policing down there. He was actually noticing the volume of people that have been stopped in surgery, mostly black kids. Obviously, there was a lot of black kids there.
Yeah,
and they were young as 13, 14, 15, carrying massive braids. You know, he said some of them were carrying these pellet guns. BB guns, thank you. Carrying BB guns and stuff like that. And it was kind of, why are you stopping all these black kids? But the reality was, there was a reason why.
But
how are we going to fight that?
Weren't the white kids on, but they would never know because they didn't stop them.
No, did you not hear what I said? The majority of the kids in that situation were black kids. So they were the ones mostly stopped. I'm not saying white kids wouldn't stop. I'm saying that majority of black kids. But the fact is that our young generation are carrying these kind of weapons. That's my point.
Yeah.
It's not about white people.
Yeah.
It's about us. It's about us carrying.
BB guns, the zombie knives.
Yeah, but
It's all been in the news for years, and it's been used as headline sensationalized as well. So
what are you trying to tell me?
Huh?
What are you trying to tell me?
It's old news.
So you're telling me that what my brother witnessed and part of is old news?
It's old news.
So my question is, it's old news, but it's still relevant to today because
Not saying it's not relevant. I'm just saying this is old news.
So then, I don't understand why you're saying this is old news. Are we not going to
Because it's been in the headlines for years.
Yeah,
this is nothing new.
Yeah, but the point is, when I delved deep into my conversation with my brother as a policeman, he was saying the majority of young kids who get arrested, young black kids who get arrested, two things. One, they're lacking fatherhood. They're either the father doesn't exist or the father in prison. So all this is old news. My question is, how do we change it as a community? That's my question. Because we don't want it to be old news, becoming new news, or always trailing behind us. Because we look over, that's old news. We don't want that. It's our responsibility as a community to make those changes. That's what I'm talking
There are
about.
people out there making change. There's
Of
a guy
course.
who specifically goes and collects knives, and he's been doing it for years. And he himself got terrorized by the police.
Yeah, one person.
Yeah, that we know of.
Okay, Anwar.
I think like the way
It's a lot of knives.
the way we could change that narrative,
Yeah.
because since as you speak of like your brother said it might be lack of fatherhood, you were saying, or your brother said it might have been lack of fatherhood, which is why they're carrying knives and stuff.
No. He said the majority of kids that he gets arrested, because one of these kids got a criminal record,
Yeah.
it's like for the majority of kids, fathers are actually in prison or the father's absence, who are arrested, carrying knives or some kind of blade like that. My thing is that, if as a community, how do we stop that? If for example, you have a son, and you in prison, how am I going to safeguard his son so he doesn't end up like his father? That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking
By
about.
not locking up so many black men.
And that's for the race.
I can answer that.
Fidel, Michael.
I can answer that.
I'm going to go to Fidel first.
I mean, I think what you're saying makes sense, and I think it's relevant. And I think I hear what you're saying, Michael. What struck me, what Shaka said, was in relation to his comment about his son. That in his son's, should we say, circle of friends, like they don't experience racism. So for me, that's quite a nice thing to hear. You know, I mean, there might be reasons for that, you know, that I'm not, aware of. But I think in terms of like the black young men carrying years, sometimes it's young girls, because often they won't be black young girls, they won't be, that's likely to be seen to be. It's fear, right? Isn't it? It's fear. You know what I mean? So, some young black people, as they're going from primary school to secondary school, you might see music videos where a lot of black boys are kind of setting a trend where they're wearing balaclavas, wearing all black, talking about shanking people. And so you kind of feel, if I'm not looking as big and bold as them, maybe I'll be the one who gets shanked. So there's all that kind of element in there. But the connection for me, in terms of this players, is that the economic fear of maybe not having enough resources, of not having maybe a place to stay, may lead people to pick up arms. And it comes back, I think, to an idea Shabs had, or that we spoke about earlier, about a scenario where, there's a kind of Mad Max kind of situation where people are kind of fighting over scraps. But yeah, coming back, I suppose, to what Shaka was saying, I think if we can live in an economic system where we're not in fear of not having enough to succeed or survive, then we're less likely to need to use knives to maybe, assert ourselves, young people to assert themselves in a postcode, or to assert themselves in terms of people selling drugs or whatever. Because it's fear, not having enough money and needing to take up arms is fear, or needing to take up arms because you're in an area where you're not familiar with, it's fear. So how do we deal with this fear thing? And it's as old as human beings, but it is something as human beings we can manage. That's what I believe anyway.
You have a point?
Point is the issue with the young people carrying knives and all this kind of stuff, being caught, put on the news, sensational headlines is old news. And I'm saying that because it's been happening for a long time. Work with gangs, predominantly in Hackney, this has been going on. If you want to know what the blame is, not all about just the missing black dad, and that's always been used. Missing black dads being locked up and all that. It's to do with the system as well. We have had youth workers, young people practitioners, black people, professionals from the community going, doing outreach, engaging with the hard to reach young people out there, those involving gangs, drugs and all that. What did the council do? It cut the funding. And when all the headlines came out now, oh, there's not enough people to interact with these young people. Oh, there's no black community. There's no black people in place. There's no professionals. There's the missing dad. They always use that same thing. Missing dad, missing fatherhood. Yeah? They always use that. But then they cut the funding. What happened to all the youth clubs? This pops up. Where's the youth club that the young people used to go to? Where's the youth club that we used to go to? Yeah? To engage with them. They're all gone. There is no systems in place to support them.
But that's what I'm saying. Why do we always need to have a system in place, meaning somebody in place to keep us in place? I am saying, anybody you know, all I'm saying, anybody you know, any young person you know. For example, Yusuf came the other day with his son. Is he 9? Nephew, 9. 8. The man, we cuddled around him in our carnival. We were there to protect him. That's what I'm talking about. That doesn't need money. That doesn't need a system. It just means us coming together. That's where I'm coming from. I'm not disputing what you're saying. In fact, I totally agree with what you're saying. But I'm sick and tired of relying on the system when we can rely on ourselves.
So we're all time poor, right? I'd love to do voluntary work in like black men in London, which I think Lloyd.
100 black men.
I'd love to do that, but I'm time poor. Do you know what I mean? And I'm time poor